Okay, thank you very much, Antonio. So I'm here. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer for inviting us. I will try today to explain a little bit more about what StEP Initiative is, as already David in the previous session mentioned. I'm working with the United Nations since 2005, but I've been in the last 3 years, I've been working even as operation manager in one take-back scheme in Italy in the startup phase of the system. So I can also share with you some of the insights as operation manager in setting up a system really on the ground. So United Nations University is not university, it's much more than think tank of the UN system. We are working at the Institute for Sustainability and Peace. Is the merger of two former institutes working on environment and sustainable development and peace and government. We are quite a small team working in Germany. We are basically 10 persons. And the more important thing is that we currently are hosting the secretariat of the StEP Initiative. The StEP Initiative is a public-private partnership initiated in 2007 from different stakeholders, and the aim is to promote and carry out projects, so work on long-term solution in the e-waste field. So StEP, the acronym means solving the e-waste problem, and we are really active in projects taking the broader holistic perspective, so taking into account the environmental perspective, the economic and the social perspective. Basically, the StEP Initiative is working as a network of committed partners, committed members that are working in different regions of the world and working in different projects. We are carrying out research, so publishing reports, but also developing on capacity building and pilot projects. Later on, I will show you some of them. And we, as UN, we are working very much hard on the dissemination of results. The StEP Initiative is, as I mentioned before, a network of partners, as I mentioned, committed members that are coming from different industry, different backgrounds. We have our companies, so the private sector, but we have companies from the OEM, like the company like HP, Dell, other producers, but also recyclers, so like Sims Recycling, Unicor, but also small and medium enterprises. We have a small recycler active in Ecuador, for instance, and others. We have governmental organizations on board, we have some NGOs, we have academic institutions, and you can see a map with the dots where our members are based. Of course, you can go on our website and you can look who is each dot. The most important thing I would like really to highlight is that finally people around the world are discovering how e-waste management is quite a complex issue. It's not just a matter of managing a kind of waste, but we need to have all different stakeholders on board to ensure a successful system is set in place. And David before already mentioned there's not only legislation that can enable the solution, or not only the technical perspective of recycling infrastructure, you need to merge all these elements together. We are active within the StEP Initiative in different task forces, so we have different projects. I'm not listing all the projects, I'm just providing some examples. So we have task force policy, we have been working with studies supporting the European Commission during the recast process. We have a project on take-back system. We are working on the link, establishing a link between policies of management of e-waste and climate change, and so on. And then we have 3 different specific task forces on redesign, reuse, and recycle. And here, for instance, looking back to what other speakers have already mentioned, for instance, we are working in task force reuse on recommendation for reuse certification and guidelines, because there's a lot of discussion on how to assess if an item we are sending, for instance, to the developing world, and I call it item, is it an appliance that's suitable for reuse, or is it just a waste level as used devices? So we are really active in this kind of project, and at the end we have another cross-cutting task force that is capacity building. And we are pretty active on the address project, and I will show some charts later on. The address project is trying to quantify what's going on the EUA status. So this is the annual digital dynamic report on EUA status. We are working in capacity building, so since 2009 we are organizing a summer school for young researchers of developing countries to promote this network of young researchers, and this year we are also starting with a similar event for policymakers. I will explain later on. Somebody already today refers to some picture or statistics from the UN, UNEP and others. We are basically working in the background within the StEP initiative to work on these numbers, so I'm showing some pies showing how the picture is changing over time and how size of the problem really do matter. So we are moving from 1990, where an estimated amount of appliances put on market was about 20 million tons all over the world, and we are moving, of course, the pie is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. What I would really like to highlight is that if you look at the breakdown of different countries, while in 1990 European Union was representing 30% of appliances put on market, by 2015 will only represent 18%. You can see how growing economies like China, India are really changing. So the size of the problem in that country is really getting more and more relevant, not only within the country, but even looking at what's going on globally. So this is quite a moving target. The second chart I would like to show is similar, but is referring to the waste generated. So we have seen already a kind of assessment done here and presented by Elena in Macedonia. We are trying to do the same at the global level. Here you can see how in 1990 an estimated amount of 40.8 million tons was being generated as waste. At that time there was no legislation in place except for Switzerland. They started in 1990 their system. So European Union, Japan and US counting for 63% were not covered by legislation. And now if you look at the picture of 2015, of course the waste being generated is much more, nearly 60 million tons. But then again, we should look at how the patterns are changing, because European Union, Japan and US have already established the legislation, but they count only for 39% of the total pie. While we have other countries that are coming with their legislation, some of them are still with the red dot, so no legislation in place. Some of them are adopting legislation, some of them have already adopted green dot, and some of them are in the process of adopting yellow dot. So, of course, legislation is not the solution. Legislation is one piece of the puzzle, but we need to take into account how this situation is changing over time. And David already mentioned how complex is setting up a system. So not only the legislation can solve the problem. For these reasons. And recently we have been, we have learned about the Kenyan situation. We are just launched a couple of days ago a new project. It's called EUS Academy, and the EUS Academy is the effort from our side to establish a platform for policymakers and small and medium-sized enterprises, so basically recyclers and refurbishers in developing countries, to promote and foster a sustainable network of stakeholders that can work at local level at the solution. The EUS Academy is supposed to provide a snapshot at the current EUS legislative status, not only at the regional level, but looking at worldwide. And we are promoting as much as possible South-South cooperation. And I'm leaving for Ghana in 2 weeks' time, because we are organizing the first EUS Academy in Ghana for 2012, having as a target region the Western Africa. So not only Ghana, but all the different surrounding neighbor countries. And the concept of the EUS Academy, and I would like to briefly explain because it is quite unique, is not just being a conference explaining to policymakers or people attending what's going on and what they should do. It's much more a workshop and fostering interactions between group of people attending, and we are planning to have quite a small group, like 20 persons, because we need to foster these kind of interactions. And we are trying to develop a program in order to explain the broader role of ICT, of electronic appliances, and their proper management. So helping them and try to promote the sustainable network of our community of stakeholders that can work and develop their local solutions. So we are addressing all these elements that are listed here on the slides, but I mean, as time is up, I would like to encourage you to visit, for instance, the website of the UNU Academy. Here we have all the links. And you can see the concept, and I would like also to push a little bit all of you, if you are really interested in the concept, to send anyway an application form, because we are having this UNU Academy in Western Africa in 2012. We are planning to move in other regions and countries, and it's anyway very interesting to share your experience in setting up the system with other persons, because that's really a learning curve we are on with this US problem at the end, or US issue on worldwide. So that's all from my side, so open for the first question.